Hey guys, it's Kara here, and I'm having a lazy Sunday afternoon, and I had asked everyone who follows me on Instagram to ask me some questions so I could do a Q&A video with you guys, so that is what I'm going to do today. So thank you for asking me questions. I was surprised to get a good response with 96 questions, so I'm going to try to answer what I can in this video and possibly do a couple videos, depending on how long it takes. So I'll get started. First question is, nothing at all is off limits? And the answer to that is no, nothing at all is off limits. Next question is, what genre of music do you like to listen to when working out? For me, I don't really have a specific genre. I usually listen to Pandora on my phone, and I typically use like my Drake Pandora station, or I use my Britney Spears station. On occasion I'll do more of like a dance, like poppy, fast-paced station. I don't usually do anything slow, but I pretty much like all genres of music. On occasion I'll break out like some old school, might do like, oh my god, Taking Back Sunday or Under Oath, The Used. Those are some of the bands that I liked in high school, and sometimes it's fun to like bring back those genres, and I'll listen to those when I'm working out. Do you guys plan on having kids in your future? Or do you guys have any nieces or nephews? Currently, we do not plan on having any kids. Well, it's not really a no, it's not a yes. It's kind of like we're both at a point in our life where neither of us desire it. Probably leaning more towards no. I'm not really sure. If I hit 35, it's a no if it hasn't happened yet. In terms of nieces or nephews, actually that's a no. Jason's an only child, so he doesn't have any brothers and sisters. I have an older sister and an older brother, both of which do not have kids either. So we're both actually like never around kids at all. So I think that's a big reason why it's kind of like out of sight, out of mind sometimes. So do you have a good relationship with your family? I would say yes. I don't get to see them a lot. My mom and dad are both retired, upstate New York. My sister lives close by, and she's like one of my best friends, but just due to like work schedules and stuff, I don't get to see her a lot. And my brother lives in Boston, so I get to see him, only a few times a year. But we all do have a good relationship, and we're together. We just kind of, cherish the time and make the most of it. I've been a little sick, so I am sipping on my Machine Fuel watermelon to help hydrate and get better. When and why did you decide to get so fit? Well, I don't know that I'm really so fit, but honestly, I got involved in fitness at a young age. I grew up at a time where my mom used to love doing Jane Fonda. If anyone can go back that far, she used to love doing like the Jane Fonda like step aerobic type stuff, and I used to be like, man, that looks so fun. So I used to like sneak downstairs in the basement and do Jane Fonda when I was like 10 years old, just because I thought it seemed fun. So I always kind of had a love for fitness since I was a young girl. I became a gym rat like at the age that it was like allowed to like be a gym member in Messina, New York, which was like 15 years old. I just always got into the gym scene, and partially it was just being like insecure and body conscious and always thinking I needed to look better. But I also really did love working out, and was a gym member all through high school. Like, I wasn't really that involved in sports growing up. Like, I did it a little bit when I was kind of forced to, but in high school my gig was kind of like going to the gym. So I pretty much got involved with it at a young age, and I've loved it ever since. When do you think you'll stop tracking? Good question. I actually stopped tracking-ish kind of recently. I think it's been about 2 months that I emailed Mark and I told him, looking at my weight all the time, tracking macros, it's making me more like unmotivated than it was motivated. So I told him I needed to stop, but I'm like, dude, I'm sorry if I disappoint you, but like I feel like this is what I need right now. and he actually was like really proud of me, and he's like, no, I totally commend you. For me, I do want to compete soon, or this year, I hope to. And tracking mentally, I think, takes a lot out of you. And I don't know, maybe it's just me, but sometimes it's just the thought of always having to track, always having to count, instead of just listening to your body and eating what you want and what sounds good. So I had already been trying to be like a intuitive eater while tracking macros. And in the past couple months, I've kind of taken time off from it. Not totally, like on occasion, I would track just to see where I was at and make sure I wasn't like going too crazy nuts. But yeah, so I did stop for a couple months, but in terms of like looking to start to lean out and possibly prep for a competition, I am going to start tracking my macros more closely and maybe hopping on the scale like once a week, or starting to do progress pictures again, which I had even stopped doing progress pictures because I just needed a little break. And I think it's good, you know, for anyone to take a little break. It's nothing to feel bad about, and we all need to do it. So after tracking for like a year and a half, it was time for a little break. When did you want to become a dietitian? And anything you'd say to those thinking about becoming one? I didn't really know what I wanted to be when I grew up. Like when I was in high school, I was very active in terms of being in the gym, being health conscious. I was a vegetarian. I was very mindful that most of my family was overweight or obese, had heart issues. So I was a little more into like the home and economics, home and careers, is that what it was, in high school type classes. So when I went to like the typical like college fair, trying to figure out where I was going to go to school, I was already involved with Shredded Jesus. So we were planning on kind of like moving together-ish. So I was, you know, looking at colleges and trying to figure out like where I wanted to go that would also kind of like, you know, meet the needs so I could like keep my boyfriend in my life. But just walking around at a college fair, like the two things that stood out to me were fashion and nutrition, were kind of like the things that I was interested in. But I wasn't like taking school very seriously in high school, so I wasn't positive what I wanted to do. And I stumbled across SUNY Morrisville, which was a 2-year school about 3 hours from my hometown. And I could live off campus with my boyfriend, and that sounded good to me because I liked nutrition. So that's kind of how I just stumbled into that major. And then when I went to school at SUNY Morrisville, it was a great program. They got you prepped to become a dietitian, and the more I learned about the field and the profession, the more I was like, yes, I want to do this. And what was good about that program, and to answer the second part of the question, what advice would I give? That program was awesome because within the first 2 years, you weren't just taking classes. Like my second semester, I was in a nursing home and talking to patients. I remember the first geriatric little lady, I knocked on her door. I was so scared to talk to her, to do her, you know, dietary assessment. And I knocked on the door and she said, "Oh honey, I'm so glad you're here. I need you to snap my bra for me." And I was like, oh my God, like I hadn't even talked to a patient before, and I went in there and I had to put my cold, clammy hands on her back and like snap her bra for her. But it was funny and it was awesome, and I had a love for geriatrics. So I knew from the start that I loved working with people, and I was very people-oriented and passionate about helping people. And I think some people get into the field of nutrition and being a dietitian because they personally like have their own fitness goals. And it doesn't always jive with being a dietitian because you don't learn in school like how to make macro plans for people and how to get people lean. When you go to school to be a dietitian, you learn how to help people with diabetes, with kidney failure, geriatric nutrition. You learn about writing tube feeding orders for patients that either need parenteral or enteral nutrition and can't eat through their, you know, orally. You learn about wound healing. You learn about all different types of like disease states versus more of the preventative, you know, fitness, bodybuilding type stuff that I'm involved in, and I think a lot of my viewers are. So I guess just really do your research, go shadow some dietitians. You know, everyone wants to be like a sports dietitian, and it's really not that easy to get into that avenue of stuff. So just do your research, pick a good school, maybe shadow some dietitians if possible to see if that field is really what you're looking for, because I think a lot of people go into this field, realize how much work it is, and that they can't necessarily get the career they want when they're done, and, you know, have wasted a lot of time and money. So do your research. The lovely Brittany Lesser asked me, do you plan to compete again? And is going the dietetic route in grad school super tough and competitive? And I kind of already alluded to that. I do hope to compete again. I don't have a show set. I don't want to be one of those people saying I'm going to compete and then I never do it, because those people piss me off, and I kind of said that last year. But I really do want to, at least one more time, if anything, because the last time I competed, I kind of sucked ass, and I wasn't happy with how I looked. My stage presence sucked. I was not confident. So I want to do it just one more time, to go out there with like the attitude of not thinking about like even placing or caring about it, just thinking about truly beating myself and, you know, really pushing myself and really just focusing on me. I feel like I'm at a place in my life now that I can do that without worrying about what all the other girls are doing, for the most part. Don't get me wrong, I'm still competitive, but I really think I could do that now and be happy and be satisfied. And I was really left unsatisfied the last time. So yes, I do plan on competing again. And for grad school, for me, I didn't do the typical route because I was already a registered dietitian when I did grad school. I went for nutrition science. I didn't find it super tough because I already had the 4-year knowledge base of a bachelor's level of dietetics and nutrition. It's challenging in regards to the sciences are very, you know, you have to know science, you have to understand how the human body works. Like I mentioned before, it's not getting macro plans for people, it's understanding the Krebs cycle and glycolysis and how your body works, and it can be challenging because it's not tangible, you know what I mean? Like it's kind of hard to, like, when you're talking about the human body and all these processes, for me science never came easy. I had to bust my ass. And to this day, I feel like there's some stuff I did not retain because I was trying to memorize so much. So it's tough, but it's doable if you're passionate about it and you love it and you have the time to put into it. It's not one of those degrees that you can just kind of wing it. You know, you really have to bust your balls, and I would suggest, if possible, not working in addition to it. That way you can focus on what you're learning and not feeling like you've memorized it and having to, you know, not remember it 5 years later. So I would encourage anyone to do it if they were really interested and passionate in doing it. What's your favorite Olympic lift? I may not be super technical when it comes to my workout terminology, so I'm not sure what all classifies as an Olympic lift, but I do love to squat. And I really do love deadlifting because, like, I got my last PR, and that really, like, I'm still on cloud 9 from that PR that was like a month and a half ago. But so I'd say deadlifts are pretty badass. I like the body parts they work. I feel like my lower body is really strong for being a petite female, and anything that makes me feel badass is pretty cool. So I'll say deadlifts, and hopefully that's the right answer. What's your favorite place you've ever traveled to? Well, I'm not very well traveled, I would say. Let's see. Well, I'd have to say just my honeymoon, and not because it was my honeymoon, but it probably was the best time of my life ever. My husband and I traveled to Costa Rica, and we were there for like 10 days? 10 days or so. And I don't know if it was just because it was our honeymoon, but I did things I would have never done before. But that's what I love about my husband, is that he does push me to do things outside of my comfort zone that, you know, you never forget. So I'd have to say going to Costa Rica, and we went scuba diving together, and that was one of the scariest and one of the most amazing experiences of my life, especially because we were out in like total open water on this like tiny boat, and I got so freaking seasick. It was ridiculous. I mean, I get nauseous easy, but I was so seasick, I thought, like, I was like, I can't do it. I can't do this. And the instructor said, look, we are doing it. So your options are to sit on this boat rocking back and forth and be seasick, or try coming down with us. So I was super glad I did that. It was the most amazing time of my life. So I'd have to say, going to Costa Rica, the plane flight wasn't that bad either. It wasn't like a ridiculous like flight like to Australia or something, but I would like to go there. But so I'd have to say Costa Rica, although I have not traveled a lot of places. We've been to Costa Rica, Jamaica, and Canada. That's about it, aside from other states. I just didn't really show it on stage as well, my posing, which is key. So now you can see here, this is from my last year of bikini comps. This was 2013. This was my Buffalo competition. So hopefully you can see a little change in, well, my posing. Yeah, I know I'm bending over a little too much